lost my camera. Yeah. Okay, so I am going to start. I'm Patricia Walsh-Collins. Welcome. I'm an intuitive educator and creator of this Facebook group called Sensitive Soul. I created this group because I think of it as a virtual village in support of, well, everything we do should be in support of children, but this is in support of sensitive children. There are many, many sensitive kids here among us. You may be one, all grown up. You may have one. You may have a grandchild or know somebody. So this is what I've set up the community that we can support each other through our own awareness and various teachings that we subscribe to. I am creating a course. I'll be launching it in a very, very short time, couple of weeks, for kids. It's called Welcoming Your Inner Wisdom. And in this changing world, I am of the opinion that it's very, very important, which is part of what we're talking about today, that we start speaking to the spiritual lives of children in a big way. So the subject for today, I come every Thursday at 4 o'clock with a different topic. And this week's subject is spirituality and religion and the confusion between the two of them. Now, I was a religion teacher. I didn't seek it out. It sought me out. But I taught religion at a private school for quite a few years. As I said, it wasn't my idea. People came to me and I ultimately took it. And ironically, the very first week of my teaching religion, world religions, to elementary age students was the week of 9/11. Wow. Yeah, you bet I was saying to myself, wow, how'd that happen? Why am I here now? But I loved it. I really loved it. I was an art and religion teacher and I integrated the two. And after 9/11, I ended up taking busloads of kids down to the Islamic mosques nearby and really addressing the fear, heading it off. You know, we joined them in Friday afternoon prayers in the mosque. It was wonderful. So as part of our religion, I remember in a 4th grade class, I began the year asking what the difference between spirituality and religion is. And one boy stood up and he said, well, I think I've got it. He said, I think spirituality is your own answers to life's big questions. And those big questions being, why are we here? Why do bad things happen to good people? What happens to us when we die? And he said, I think religion is when you find a group of other people that have come to those same answers, found those same answers for those same questions. And it kind of becomes a system of beliefs. And I agree with that. I also add to that, in my view, spirituality is inward. Spirituality looks inward and is an active seeking inward to the remembrance of your own truth. I believe we've come here perfect as spiritual beings. You know, we were put in these human forms for this human experience, but we came as spiritual beings. So we have it. It was trained out of us in a lot of ways. It was, we were disconnected from a lot of our spiritual truth. But so a spiritual path is a path inward, a path of remembrance. I used to use the word evolving, and maybe it still applies in some ways, but it's kind of like a backwards evolution, back to what we know ourselves to be. And then likewise, I look at religion as being more of an outward expression, where you hold a belief system along with other people. And so a lot of the seeking component of that has maybe ceased a little bit in the knowing of your faith, the knowing of your belief, that the seeking is a little more limited. And also that it is not a direct one-on-one communication in most cases. In spirituality, you have your direct link to the divine. It is you. And in many religions, there's a conduit. So you have a second-hand link. And that is part of the distancing that happens with people. So the question also comes up, can you be spiritual and not participate in a religion? Absolutely. That's how you began. That's where you started, as a spiritual being. Religion is constructed. It's a man-made construct. So there are many spiritual beings who are not involved with a religion, may take many practices and teachings from various religions as part of their spiritual path, but don't assign themselves to one spiritual or religious path. And then you flip it, can you be religious and not be spiritual? Definitely. Definitely. Many people inherit their religion. I did. Early on, I grew into the religion of my family, my mother and father, who grew into the religion of their parents. I opted out at some point. I opted into another one, and I always said, no matter if I am assigned to a religion, my spiritual life is bigger than any one religion, because I do have an eclectic spirituality where I take from all religions, or many religions, and the practices and teachings, and I absorb them, I learn from them, and I make them my own, and that is my seeking spiritual path. I do have a short story about somebody that was very dear to me. I helped with the latter part of their life as they were nearing the end, and this was a person that was very religious all their life, a righteous, long life of contribution to the church and community, did all the right things, abided by all the rules and laws within, followed all the doctrines, and yet at the end, there was a disconnect. There was a disconnect between the fear that was planted within through the religion and the love this person thought they should be feeling in a relationship that they had formed over many, many years, and it wasn't there. So it was in stark contrast to when I witnessed my father passing. He was a very spiritual man. He was ready, and I literally watched him grow into something much bigger than his physical form could hold. I say I witnessed watching him grow into love. It was that profound. But this other experience was really interesting for me, because you could live this long, long life doing everything right, by the books right, and yet not have a depth of personal spirituality, not have a remembrance of your most inner divinity, and not have a faith and trust in that as you are readying to go to the next place, to returning. So that was amazing to me. And this all brings me to the question, which I've had for a long time, working in the schools, both public and private. It confounds me why we do not address the spiritual lives of children in school. It really doesn't confound me. It's because of separation of church and state and the misconception that they're the same thing, and they are not. Spirituality is not religion, and religion is not spirituality. And the fear of even teaching world religions in school They can be accessed in the upper grades and in college, but in the lower formative years, children don't have access to those unless they're in a private religious school. And they don't have access to it because there is a fear of indoctrination, rather than a celebration of being a spiritual being, rather than a furthering of the remembrance of all that you are. It's really, the time has come, in my opinion. And so I'm asking the question. I'm raising the question. I'm raising the question through the work that I'm doing. The class that I'm teaching, yes, it's definitely spiritual components, but not religion. Not religion. It's not about religion. I had a little kid in third grade when I began teaching kids at the third grade level. Up to that point, it was an indirect teaching in the lower levels. But in third grade, we would start with a conversation as to, why do you think we're teaching religion? Why is that important? And it would be this back and forth conversation. Well, so we can know what other people believe. Yeah. And why is that important? Well, so we're not afraid of them. Oh, yeah. And why is that important? Well, it just kept going until we finally arrived at the place that we teach world religions so that we don't have fear, so that we're not afraid of people, so that we can be friends and we can be happy. It's not that hard. But you see where the question of fear comes up. It doesn't come up when you're talking about spirituality. Nobody seeks a spiritual life of fear. We seek from a place of love, returning to a place of love. And in religion, and don't misconstrue me, I am not down on religions, but there are nuances here that need to be said for the benefit of the kids and their education. In religion, there's a lot of boundaries placed on people, hierarchies, rules that support fear. And in supporting that fear, it keeps the individual distant from their own inward spiritual truth. And why can we not turn that around in the school systems? So that's my question. It might be an interesting thing to do is to look at your belief system and look at it and see, where am I continually seeking to remember, inward, not outward, and where have I landed on a belief? Where do I hold a belief? One is actively seeking, one is pretty steady holding. And it just would be a good examination to do. So that's my bit. That's my bit for today. I will return next week at 4 o'clock on Thursdays. I will continue to post in Sensitive Soul. If you found this interesting or helpful in any way, share it with a friend. I hope I can figure out how to save it. I messed up last week. And I will see you in 1 week's time. Stay well, be happy, take care.